Good evening, everyone, and welcome to tonight's meeting about the South Salem Commuter Rail Platform. I would like to start by recognizing we have a number of city leaders with us today, including our city councilors, John Harvey, Patty Morcillo, Conrad Prosnewski, Alice Merkel, Andy Varela, and Jeff Cohen, as well as our state senator, Joan Lovely. So tonight you'll hear a presentation from AECOM. That's the consulting firm who've been working with the city, the MBTA, Salem State, and Salem Hospital on the development of the South Salem Commuter Rail Station plans. The updated presentation that you'll see is based on feedback that had been provided from the last public information meeting on this project back in June. I want to thank everyone who attended that meeting and shared their questions, concerns, and expressions of support. I hope that you'll find the updated plans to be reflective of a lot of the comments that were offered at that meeting. After the presentation, the project team will take questions from the audience. Recognizing that some people are not comfortable offering questions in a public setting, after the question and answer period, you're invited to come around the room to stop by the table and see the plans up close, to ask questions directly to the project team members, to the working group members who are here, or to myself. And if you prefer, you can also submit your feedback or questions by email to southsalemtrain@salem.com. The presentation this evening, as well as a link to provide additional feedback if you wish to do so, and a link to the video recording that SATV is making of this meeting, will all be available at salemma.gov/southsalemtrain. On that website currently, you can also find past studies and presentations for this project. Currently, this project is just about at 15% design, which means that it's about 15% of the way towards design completion. Last year, the city and the Salem Partnership, the organization that's helping to lead this project for the community, was awarded funding to develop 100% design plans. The process to go from 15% design to 100% design is estimated to take about 2 years. It will involve additional opportunities like tonight for public updates and input. Those 2 years will also provide the city time to pursue additional funding opportunities for the eventual construction of the 100% design plans, and to advance any other measures that might be necessary in the neighborhoods on both sides of the track of the platform. So those could include putting in place resident parking protections, traffic calming installations, or other work that's not directly related to the platform, but is impacted by it. None of that work has been developed at this point. We were only focusing on the actual platform designs. So before I hand this over to the team from AECOM, I also want to offer my thanks to the members of the working group who have been meeting with the consultants on this over the last year or so, and also to the Salem Partnership and Beth Debsky especially, who's been instrumental in keeping this project on track. So before I turn it over to AECOM, I also, just for those of you who don't know the history of this project, I'll provide a brief summary. So conversations about a second train station in the South Salem area started about 36 years ago. They were put on pause as the MBTA and the city focused more on the downtown station and the multimodal project there. But they resumed in earnest about 9 years ago. And thanks to federal funding that was secured through Congressman Moulton, over the last couple of years, the partnership was able to retain AECOM and start developing these 15% design plans. The South Salem train station is, we feel, an opportunity to create an amenity for the surrounding neighborhoods, to reconnect safely the two sides of the city that have been separated since the old bridge was removed, and also provide a transportation alternative for the 28,000 people who work, study, or make use of the major institutions and businesses in the immediate area, including Salem State University, Salem Hospital, our two largest private employers, the Amazon facility, and the surrounding businesses. So with that being said, I'll turn it over to Matt from AECOM to walk you through tonight's presentation.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you to the mayor, and thank you for everyone being here tonight. Quick agenda of what we're going to go through tonight in the slides here. General project updates, which were given by the mayor. We're going to quickly go through the same site constraints and design parameters that were gone through in June. We will go over what the initial station alternative was back in June, and then we will revisit what the feedback was that we received both in public and from the SurveyMonkey. Following that, we will get into what the new design concepts are based on the feedback that we received from the public. We'll go through what those improvements of the design were, and lastly, some real-life examples that the design team is drawing from for our future design. So first, we're going to provide some project context to why the city needs and wants this new station facility. The mayor hit on all of the big items here. The track currently separates two parts of the neighborhood of the city that were once connected, and there are major vehicle, bicycle, and pedestrian access restrictions by having to go on either side of the tracks all the way down in downtown or uptown to get across the tracks. We have the hospital, the high school, the middle school, Salem State University, of course, and other private employers that this is going to provide access to, not just for the station's use, but also the pedestrian access using the bridge over the tracks. So getting into the site constraints as to why the station is laid out where we're proposing, we have the Jefferson Ave Bridge going up and over the tracks to the south. We have the tunnel further north, as well as the existing MBTA rail yard adjacent to the Amazon facility. There are currently 3 tracks in this area. One is just a siding to access the yard, and then there's the 2 mainline tracks. 2 mainline tracks are proposed to remain active in the future. So now to revisit what the initial concept was back in June. The initial concept was to provide pedestrian access via a bridge directly at the end of Ocean Ave West and having 2 elevators for accessibility on each side. 2 600-foot long platforms on each side of the tracks for inbound and outbound access would be accessed from the bike path and from the pedestrian bridge up and over to each side of the platform. Quick 3D view of what was proposed back in June. A view from Ocean Ave West of what was proposed in June. So getting into the feedback that we received both in person and via the SurveyMonkey, a lot of the positive feedback that we received from over 100 survey responses was public transit improvements were positive feedback for environment, reduction of traffic and vehicle emissions in the city, accessibility and connectivity of the neighborhoods, and easier access for students to Salem State. The main concerns that we received from the public include vehicular access and traffic concerns along Ocean Ave West, pedestrian volumes on Ocean Ave West to access the station, noise and disruptions to the neighborhood from the station, parking along local streets, light pollution and visual impacts to those living on Ocean Ave West, and the general safety concerns. Now moving on to what the project team has been working on over the last few months to address the public's comments and feedback. The new updated baseline is shifting the bridge and major infrastructure further north, away from the end of Ocean Ave West and the direct view of the neighborhood. It's the same distance to walk. There's just a switchback has been eliminated from the ramp. So accessibility and distance for someone to travel up and over the tracks remains the same. So as was noted, elevators are being removed from the western side of the station. It would just be a ramp, and the bridge would now be behind the Ocean Ave West neighborhood. Everything on the bike path and Canal Street side mostly remain the same, with the bridge shifted north and an elevator or ramp system proposed to get accessibly down to the bike path elevation. Here's a 3D rendering of what the concept would look like for the new baseline alternative of the bridge shifted north. Here you can see ramp and stairs covered by a roof, as well as the pedestrian bridge, elevator structure to the right, and your platform canopy both 600 foot long on each side of the tracks. Here's an updated rendering view of what would look like from the Ocean Ave West neighborhood. So here you see the tall railing fence where the existing retaining wall is to protect users, and then there's going to be 2 ramps on either side with the MBTA lollipop sign to access the station. Here's a side-by-side comparison of what the initial concept was and what the current baseline concept is. Now, in addition to what we have done with the initial baseline concept, we've taken the feedback from the public a little bit further to see how could we possibly mitigate the impacts to the adjacent neighborhood of Ocean Ave West and Lawrence Street. With this, we thought of how could we completely mitigate the large traffic volumes, both by vehicles, bicycles, and pedestrians along Ocean Ave West. The thinking of this new alternative is having an alternative access point along the Amazon site, getting to Jefferson Ave via 193 Jefferson Ave. This would be a 14-foot wide path, similar to the existing Salem bike path and other rail trails in the state. This would have lighting, security, trash, signage, and it could be essentially considered a spur or continuation of the existing Salem bike path. Here's a zoomed in look at the station area with this additional access here. So everything remains the same. We have walls and ramps along the Ocean Ave West side of things. And now at the pedestrian bridge, we have the spur, which is going to continue west up towards Jefferson Ave.
So, I'm sorry, can I just ask a question? So do you have people still coming out on Ocean Ave West? Or
Questions
is
at the end?
proposal to bring them north and go out by Hampton?
Why don't we take the questions at the end? We'll address that one.
If we haven't addressed it in the next following slides, we will get to it in the Q&A. Thank you.
All right, thank you.
So here's a 3D view of what this would look like from a slightly different angle with the Jefferson Ave spur. You can see both the staggered platforms, the covered ramps, covered stairs, and pedestrian bridge. Some two critical cross sections to take a look at what we're working with in elevations in this area. At the top of the page, we are about halfway along this Jefferson Ave spur path. To the left in blue is the existing Amazon warehouse building. To the right is the existing residence property line. As you can tell, that is up in elevation and the path is starting down in the trench. And that will slowly ramp up to the pedestrian bridge, which is now the bottom of the page, closer to the pedestrian bridge, where we're about even with the backyard elevation of the Ocean Ave West properties. But we are proposing a privacy screening and canopy along the residential side of the path. Now, another critical area of this design concept is how do we connect at the end of Jefferson Ave and connect to the city streets and sidewalk. In order to make this fully accessible, there needs to be a ramp shown in green on the screen here from the existing parking lot elevation. For those familiar, there's a very steep driveway there. So a new ramp system will need to be designed to make it accessible into the sidewalk. And working with thanks to Beth, we've been able to coordinate and work with the private property owners. They're all willing to work with us and they have their own plans, and we feel comfortable for all parties to get what they want and have a good design moving forward. At this moment in time, we're proposing for this concept to have a small pickup drop-off island in the back of this parking lot. This could be utilized by, private vehicular traffic to pick up and drop off any users at the end of the path, and also for the hospital shuttles, which are currently going around Salem streets to come in and pick up and drop off users for the hospital. Here's a different angle looking west towards the neighborhood and the path with ramps there and elevator. Here's a nighttime view of the alternative. This would be the same for the baseline, just without the spur, same lighting for security and visual purposes, and with the canopies and walls proposed, this would help mitigate any light pollution spilling into the end of the Ocean Ave West neighborhood. So now some recent examples that are out in the state currently that are helping guide us in our design concepts. The last few years, I believe, the community path in Somerville has opened. For those of you familiar in Somerville, we've really taken that into consideration for a residential and transit intermodal design approach. This goes along many residential and both industrial areas in Somerville. It is heavily used. Well lit, ornamental lighting, fencing, guardrails, all the works. Here's a section of that same community path in Somerville with retaining walls and tall fences. This is something similar that could be utilized for this Jefferson Ave spur here along the Amazon site. A separate location in Natick, Mass, the Cochituate Rail Trail, which was also recently opened in the last 4 or 5 years. This is a bridge span section with the tall mesh panels, which could be proposed along the Amazon site to keep people protected and away from the private property. Here's another real life example of what is used when building ramp and platform structures directly adjacent to residential neighborhood. Here's a ramp system accessing an MBTA station, mostly covered canopy, one side wall with screening, both with partially translucent panels and aluminum fins. As you can tell here, there's an existing residential building about 8 feet away from the back of that wall. And this wall still allows natural light to both sides of the wall, the users on the ramp and the residential building, but it also provides privacy and protects the residential unit from people looking up into their windows. So that's what we have for an update so far at this point. We're going to have some breakout tables. Yeah, we'll set up the breakout tables once we're done with Q&A.
Can you put that slide up again and show me like the path behind the garage? What she was talking about before.
Of course.
From back here, can you just clarify like where that path goes, if they still have access?
How far from the,
Sorry.
Out west?
Oh, so the access to Ocean Ave West would remain the same in both alternatives. So there would still be a ramp to the end of Ocean Ave West.
And what is that?
we don't say anything, they just control our trees.
Yes, she was trying to chap off with my question. I guess we're trying to figure out if that proposed area where they go down Jefferson Ave, or that one, is going to be placed, putting them out on Ocean Ave West, because I see no reason why there would need to be access on both sides.
So the access to Ocean Ave West is going to be required by code regardless, and the idea is to provide access to the neighborhood to get up and over the tracks regardless. This is a neighborhood station, and neighborhood access to the station is...
But the neighborhood doesn't want it.
We don't want it.
We're gonna take one question at a time, okay? If you have a question, I'll come to you. Thank you.
I'm sorry, can I just have one follow-up question? You mentioned you have walls or some sort of barriers. Well, does that go all the way down the platform, or is that just in the area of Ocean Ave West?
Those walls are currently proposed at the Ocean Ave West, directly adjacent to the residence buildings.
Okay, because I have concerns about safety for the rest of the neighborhood on Lawrence Street because of the current inadequate fencing that's there.
Oh, there will be fencing provided. Walls only along Ocean Ave West, but fencing behind the entire platform, yes.
So I would like to see walls going all the way down the entire platform. Because I think it would be safer for not only residents, but keeping people from going over. Because right now, I live across from the access road, and I see people cut through here all the time.
Which is why we want to provide the pedestrian bridge, because currently people are dangerously crossing the tracks.
Yeah, yes, but they're still going to do it, I guess. So I was wondering if you could extend that wall.
No taken. At a minimum, we have fencing, but thank you. Yes.
Do you have a question here? You have another question?
Does this plan,
Please.
does this plan still overlap with 134 Ocean Ave West property?
Overlap, like
The elevators before overlap the Ocean Ave West property, 134 Ocean Ave West?
there are no more elevators on that side of the project,
Does this
but
plan overlap that property line?
there are property impacts at the end of Ocean Ave West to, yes.
So there's also going to continue to be access for a walking path no matter the alternative to the end of Ocean Ave West?
Correct. She has the microphone if you want, yeah.
Nothing's been said yet. I'm new to this. I haven't been to a meeting before, but I heard about this train station thing 36 years ago. Nothing has been said here. I see there's several alternatives for eminent domain. Which alternative or which station would be zero impact eminent domain for the people that live on Ocean Ave West or Indian Ave? That's what I want to know. How many houses are going to be impacted and taken from the owners by eminent domain?
There's currently no plans for houses to be taken. I don't know if the mayor has anything to add.
What about a garage? What about her land?
So there's no houses being taken for even the previous project. There were property impacts over parts of the yards, and the process for eminent domain takings is that the property owner has to be compensated the fair market value for that. So
I know that rule, but
Right.
some people don't want to lose their homes even if they get fair market value for it. But I heard from 2 to 6 homes at the upper side of, I grew up on Ocean Ave West.
Yeah.
My mother still lives on Ocean Ave West, and I've been hearing it's anywhere from 2 to 6 homes are going to be impacted on Ocean Ave West as far as eminent domain goes.
So if you live on Ocean Ave West and you want to come look at the plans up close to see what the impacts may or may not be to your property, this came up at the June meeting as well, and there were questions about houses being taken. There were no houses being taken under the previous draft plan. There's no houses being taken under this plan. If there are any impacts, it's just related to portions of land that may be affected by the location of the platform or location of the ramp.
Okay, I'll take you as your word on that, but is there going to be a study done on the impact of property values on Ocean Ave West? When this goes down?
An economic study of the property values?
So they're going to go up, they're going to go down, they're going to remain the same? Is there going to be a study done? You're impacting a lot of people on Ocean Ave West, Lawrence, probably Wheatland and Cobham.
Yeah, we could pull together information about that. I think there may actually already be some information about the economic study that was done previously, but no, the one that was done, the one that was done just a few years ago. But we can provide some additional information on the website about comparable neighborhoods, stations that have been developed and the impacts on property values in the surrounding communities. I think typically when there's a neighborhood station, it increases the value of the property. Well, I mean, we were asked to provide the information, so we'll provide the information. We're going to keep going with the Q&A so everyone has an opportunity to ask questions.
Hi, yes, I just have a question. I work at a hospital, and did the hospital commit to, running a shuttle there, up on Ocean Ave West?
They're part of the working group discussion, so they know what our plans are, and
It's half a mile, so that's enough.
as things get refined, they want to work with us to provide shuttle stops either on one side of the tracks minimum.
So they haven't committed.
Next question.
So they, so then you're gonna have people waiting for the shuttle. We wait for the shuttle now, there's free parking, we wait for the shuttle now, and for like 10 minutes for another shuttle to come around. A lot of employees in the mornings, and a lot of people standing on Ocean Ave West outside of these people's homes. And you mentioned that you need to have access by code on both sides of by code. I don't understand, because the other train station does not have access on both sides. You access the downtown train station from one side.
Because that's a single side platform in downtown, so we're proposing 2 side platforms, so each platform needs 2 means of egresses.
Do you really think that enough hospital employees are gonna take that train? Because and is the MBTA gonna run trains early enough to get people there? You're gonna have to, you're off that train by 6:30 to be able to get into that hospital, punch in, get into your clothes, and get to work. And so if they're not running trains from other places early enough, and what about the weekends? Are they gonna run early enough on the weekends? So it's not gonna really provide help for the employees.
No, last time I was here, I asked if they do a survey and see how the riders now, because the last survey was done in 2002, which was 20 years ago.
Yeah, you can get into this. So the station is proposed for the neighborhood, students, people crossing the tracks, and hospital and other private business owners in the city. So it's not specifically for the hospital, but we're providing the shuttle pickup drop-off area for any private vehicles or the hospital shuttle, as we've discussed with them. In terms of trains, that's something that's part of the rail modernization and electrification.
Yeah, so quickly, this is meant to link in with the new service plan we're building out for the MBTA. Sorry. I don't know what's.
Tell me who you are.
So, I'm Alistair Soares, head of rail modernisation for the MBTA.
Still can't, because of the mic, you gotta speak up.
Yeah, anyway, interesting. So I'm Alistair Soares, head of rail modernisation for the MBTA. So I understand you're all a little nervous about this station, so that's a key issue. In terms of the service patterns, we are looking at serving Salem, both stations in Salem, at a higher frequency. We are electrifying. We're working on that right now. As you may know, we already started work on the site adjacent to this. We're starting to build out substations and all the background infrastructure, and we're currently in another part of the system buying new trains. So the intent is, in parallel to this, we'll be running a much higher frequency on this line, and it will be starting earlier, and it'll be electric, not diesel, significantly quieter, no emissions at the point of source. So there's a very different service. I do understand the congestion from people. That's a different point. So we can't talk to that. There are always impacts from that. There's impacts of light and noise from the people. But in terms of the service span, we start already at 5 a.m. And we obviously have been already working with various hospitals all around our network to make sure we have early enough service span starting for shift workers and late enough at night and at weekends. So we've moved to all-day service at weekends. We'll just obviously listen to the hospital in terms of where the shifts are at the weekends, what the timing is, to make sure everybody's served. We've done the same with universities around the network. So service pattern, we can change. Station location, that's another issue, so we can move on to that.
So what's the issue around that? Because we're a small dead-end street, so that's why populated but it's a very narrow dead-end street. Not much parking. Houses on, not much parking. So what is,
One at a time. It's hard to hear multiple people talking.
So where would the, I mean, what else was looked at here? Because years ago when this started, Mayor, this was started way down the other end, down by the college.
We're gonna get the mic over there. Let other
Okay, so, this man has a question. So here's, I'm not in that area, I'm not directly affected by it, and I totally understand why you guys, some people who have concern, make sure it serves you well. But my question is more about its design. And here's the thing. I was part of you attended meetings for the intermodal, downtown intermodal. And my concern was including the courthouse, something's happening here, including the courthouse design, that it wasn't taking into account its location, the historic aspects of Salem, and the courthouse is right adjacent to the federal street, McIntyre neighborhood, and we were sure that it was going to take into account architectural details would fit right in. Didn't turn out that way. And the same thing with the MBTA. We wanted it to be like this, something that would really reflect the historic nature, the important architectural nature of Salem, its importance in its architecture. And so I'm seeing these designs here, and I know it's South Salem, but still, it's Salem. And I'm seeing this very modern design that doesn't seem to have anything to do aesthetically with Salem. And it's just plopped into that first one. We had the tower, yes, with glass, but we're not brutalist or, this modern architecture. That's not Salem. So I would really like to see structures, particularly in an area where people live and they want to have something that's aesthetically pleasing. They want just this kind of modern thing just kind of dropped in the neighborhood, something that actually will look nice and they can be proud of, not just as a utilitarian thing, but as an aesthetic thing, so that it will add to the look of their neighborhood. That's my concern. And so I've been here for about 30 years. and or so, whatever, and I get the lip service where, yeah, we'll do it, but it doesn't happen. So that's my concern. And if you care to address it, please.
Yeah, absolutely. That note taken, we know that if we are part of the 100% design of this project, that the architectural details and how it connects with the community on both sides of the tracks is very important. And what we're showing right now is just baseline concept to prove that our concept is feasible.
Hey, thank you.
Hi, I live on Forest Ave, so on the other side, or the Canal Street side, and first of all, I just want to say I'm very much for this, and really excited about it, and we were out on Sunday knocking doors all up and down Ocean Ave, not west, but the other side, and pretty much everyone that we spoke to that shared their opinion was for it. So just a side note, there's another side of Ocean Ave. Do you have a question, just because people had questions and I wanted to share one of them. I didn't see it might have been in the plan, and I might have dismissed it, but is there any plans for parking structure on the Canal Street side at all?
At this moment, there are no plans for a parking structure on the Canal Street side. Right now, we're planning for Broadway and Ocean Ave street side improvements, parking, shuttle, pickup, drop-off spaces, et cetera. Yeah.
Okay, cool, that makes sense. And then I was just curious, as you're doing that, I'll just, I know that like the permanent parking and things, I know people on that side as well are nervous about their street parking, so it sounds pretty taken into consideration. And I have one other question, was just, and Mary be doing this, but I was wondering if you talked at all with the MBTA for the bus lines going along, like Canal, Lafayette, just thinking about maybe having some additional stops or adding stops in conjunction with this project, just to encourage people to go from bus to train and therefore, less street car traffic. The Canal Street's already a major roadway, so just having people continue to enter through that sideline alleviates some of the concerns for people in current.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, intermodal connectivity overall is something that we and the project team overall are going to consider moving forward to 100% design.
Thank you.
I'm just curious about what other alternatives were looked at, because this is a small, very densely populated neighborhood. Lots of little children. There's a whole list of other things that go with that, but just looking if I get the other side of Ocean Ave. But this really affects very closely 7 houses up that dead end of the street, not to mention the rest of the residents on Ocean Ave West, and not to mention everybody on Lawrence Street, Outland Street. So what else was looked at? Because when this project was first looked at years and years ago, it was never intended to go here. So what changed that? And with all the opening in the back, why can't this go someplace else? This is literally on so you can, everybody can talk about, well, the two above, there are 7 houses on this dead end street. A very densely narrow dead end street. So it's not just 2 abutters that are affected, no matter what you say. You can't even turn a car around now on a 3-point turn on that street. And so where are you looking to put bus stops and shuttle stops? Where is all this going, and how can anyone say the quality of life? And I would love to see the study that says this is going to improve. Maybe in places like Cambridge and Somerville and Boston, it boosts. On a small dead end street, there is a big difference from a little wooden bridge 40 years ago to this now. So I'd like to know where the alternatives are, what's been looked at, why they can't be there, and where is all this other stuff that you're proposing going to go? There's no room.
Yeah, so I'll start at the back there. So we are not proposing any pickup, drop-off, shuttle, bus, anything along Ocean Ave West. That would strictly be for pedestrian access. Any shuttle access would be on the Canal Street side and at the end of Jefferson Ave, the spur alternative. Here, at 193. So can I finish answering her question? Yeah. So The idea is that the majority of bicycle and foot traffic would use this separated spur, if that's the concept that is moved forward with, for those going beyond the Ocean Ave West neighborhood. And the Ocean Ave West neighborhood would have their access point. We understand that there's vehicular and parking concerns inside of your neighborhood. And that's something, as the mayor mentioned, that is going to be heavily looked at and considered and designed moving forward after this 15% design stage, which has been focused on the station itself.
So how would that possibly be without widening the street? There's no way. It's just not possible. So I don't understand what plan could possibly make home on the street to accomplish that.
I think they're planning on killing all the trees and making a different street in our backyard. I think that's the Waze's spur, I think that's what it means, making a whole other street, killing all the trees. I think that's the plan.
That's not
right?
accurate.
Is that the plan?
No.
Then what's the plan? Yeah, please answer.
Take a microphone, please.
Yes, we're gonna go to the. You're not gonna widen our street. Jim, go ahead.
Ma'am, please be respectful of the other guests here. Thank you. All right. My name is Jim Rhodes, 25 Linden Street, and one of the persons just asked about the bus access. And I guess one question I have, is the Salem State Biking Bus Service going to pick people up on the east side of this station, behind McDonald's there?
Mhm.
Is that part of the plan?
Yeah, along Ocean Ave on the Canal Street side, that's something that we currently have draft roadway plans to provide a shuttle pickup, drop-off spot and taxi spot there, yes.
And the other point is that when these folks are concerned, when they first eliminated, there was a plan to develop this behind Lawrence Street, behind Dewey's, but there were 4 or 5 people who raised their hands, and that could have been an option to build it, behind Lawrence Street there and behind Dewey's, but they never pursued that. And I'm just wondering why that option wasn't considered.
I'm not familiar about that specific alternative.
I'm saying that was an alternative that was looked at, and that could mitigate some of the concerns that you folks had. But it was quickly dismissed because there were 4 or 5 people who raised their hand and said they don't want it. So, I mean, what are we going to do here?
Mhm.
There's always going to be some opposition. How do we make it work so that we can?
Yeah. Back in June, we went through what our initial concepts were anywhere along this corridor here. We looked at Jefferson Ave, we looked at closer to the tunnel behind Amazon, and we went through what the pros and cons of all of those things were. Jefferson Ave Bridge is a very old Mass DOT owned bridge that it would be difficult to attach to and is further away from the hospital and other parts of the university and the city. Behind Amazon is very difficult to have public access, both on the Amazon side and on the Canal Street side. And you need public access from the station because that's how you get users safely in and out in an emergency and also to use the station.
There's no way Amazon would be amenable to something like that through Colonial Road.
Especially not currently when it's in Amazon with trucks and vans going all the way. It could be a public safety concern, but the private property owner moving forward, that's right down the middle of their property.
That's
So
eminent domain would make the most sense if you work with a corporate citizen like that, rather than impacting these folks. Because why haven't we looked at that option more seriously?
we have, and it's something the project team will look forward a little bit more. But all the users on Ocean Ave West, Lawrence Street, by the church would have to go much further to access the station.
Yeah, so I understand the issue on that one, but it's unfortunate, but it's the truth. Where the tunnel portal is, that does not work.
Sorry, speak up.
So it just does not work for operational reasons. So there is a problem with where the tunnel is. The tunnel is single track. This is 2-track section. You won't be able to run the frequencies you want to run, so we won't be able to give you the service. So it will diminish the service if we try to put the station any further closer to the tunnel portal. That was the problem with the previous designs. There were a couple of them. There was also the issue of Amazon. So, I mean, there's been lots of different opportunities and lots of different ways are studied. Unfortunately, we did all the various rankings and we've worked together, and this is the least worst option. Of course, there are always neighborhood impacts. And that's what we're trying to do here, is to minimize those. And to be very clear, this is a walkway going down the back of Amazon. We're not planning on building a road or any kind of other structure here. So that is the design concept we're bringing to you. So if that's what we want to comment on, we're not planning on bringing a road down the back of your houses or down the back of Amazon. That is just a bike path and pedestrian access. And then that is fed from the the backside up there towards the hospital to give the access to the hospital drop-off. On the other side, that's to allow university drop-off, basically by McDonald's. So those are the two options. So trying to mitigate, understand there's noise, light, those things.
I see what you're saying. What I'm wondering is,
Excuse me.
I'm a teacher. Can you hear me?
What?
Wait, to make your turn.
I have the mic. I'll hand it to you next.
Thank you.
Oh,
I asked
I'll-
myself.
Hi, I'm Matt Shepard, Fairfield Street. I work in Boston, and I've lived in Beverly previously. I've lost 2 bicycles at the stations. Finally in Salem, though, I've heard I use this last gauge thing. Is there going to be sort of the secure area for bikes in the new design entrance?
Yeah, bike parking is going to be something important.
Parking inside secure. So the one in Beverly finally now has a cage where you can use your monthly pass.
Yeah.
into it.
Yeah, the security level of that bike parking is something we'll work through both with the public and our design team moving forward into 100% design. But definitely bike parking with lighting, cameras, and covered shelter at a minimum, yes.
Yeah, I similarly was wondering whether a blue bike station was part of the design. I haven't heard if that was part of it, but I think I just wanted to reiterate a comment that was made earlier that if the bus and train schedules are aligned, it can really decrease traffic flows through the area. My partner loves to hop on the train or the bus when it's waiting outside the train station when he comes back in from Cambridge. And so I think, just thoughtfully looking at how those transportation systems link together can really decrease the impact on the neighborhood.
Absolutely, note taken. We'll reach out to Blue Bikes, or the project team will, as the design continues, but we're working hand in hand with the MBTA on their rail modernization and electrification and how the projects can work together.
Thank you. Thank you. So I just want to ask, I do live on Ocean Ave West, and whatever happens there is going to affect me every single day. And I am scared. I'm scared that there's going to be more crime. I'm scared that there's going to be litter. I'm scared for the little children that live on the state. I don't have any, but I am scared for them because we don't know who's going to be coming into our neighborhood. We know it's probably not going to be the hospital workers because they have a parking lot and they have a free shuttle and they're never going to use it. They never work in general. We know it's not for the Salem State students because it's nowhere near there and they're not taking the train. So we know that. We know that we were told hospital workers, Salem State students, because it sounds good. We know who it's really going to benefit. It's going to be the people in the new condos on Canal Street. We know, but it sounds horrible to say that. So nobody has said that, but we know. We don't have to pretend. So we know who it's for. I would love to not have that extra little spur thing over on our side. If you legally have to have it, then I guess we're gonna have it. Just promise me, because he promised me we'd have a Zoom left for this, and there's no Zoom, okay? There's no Zoom. That happened. So please promise me, please be a person of your word, that it will not be a street where cars can go up and down.
There will be no vehicular access along the Amazon access spur.
Okay, so if you legally have to do that for egress, do you legally have to, or do you legally just have to have the one on Ocean Ave West?
Just pedestrian egress at Ocean Ave West.
Okay, I would want that, I think.
We have a lot of people who want to ask questions, so let's go around the room.
They know it's our house. Oh, should they take it away from me now, Jeff?
Let's
Should
go.
they, are you done listening to me?
No, I'm saying,
I think you are. No,
why
just don't listen.
Why can't we have everyone who hasn't asked a question?
I'm good, thanks, really, thank you so much. So, I have your word, right? What's your name? Sir, what is your name?
Hello, I live up by Parkland Street, 77 Manhattan. I'm very for this project, very exciting. I think that the issue here is you need to have access from Ocean Avenue.
Legally, they do.
Legally, they do. Is that because the station on the upper side is to the page left of Ocean, on the south side of Ocean? Where is the station platform for southbound?
Yeah, let me pull something up real quick, but essentially each platform needs 2 egress points and has to be a certain distance away from public way.
Gotcha.
Right.
I work in premium transit every day, so I'm an urban designer, so it would seem to me that the obvious solution would be to mirror the west side station so it aligns with the
Amazon side, not the Ocean Avenue side, and don't provide access to Ocean Avenue. These people obviously do not care about direct access to the way that they can't go up Jefferson, go down your railroad spur, and get on the platform. Don't give people access from Ocean Avenue through their neighborhood because they don't want it.
We don't want it.
I believe that was one of the early alternatives. And that was the ideal location to have, perfectly mirrored station side platforms where Amazon is. But there's a very important to the MBTA rail yard that has a spur that needs to maintain access. It's on a curve and it's going toward the tunnel where there's single track. So there's just no room for a platform there. And a single platform, as was mentioned earlier by the MBTA, would completely hinder the gains that we would get of the electrification and the rail modernization.
Hi, my name is Chris Pelletier. I live at the end of the dead end of Ocean Ave West. And I know that many of my closest neighbors are not excited about this. My household is. They are making blanket statements, and I understand their concerns. I don't want to step on them, but I want to at least make it known that there are people on Ocean Ave West who do want this project. I do appreciate the comments that the team took into account from the last meeting. I think this additional pathway behind everyone's property lines and on Amazon's property is going to mitigate some of the traffic, the foot traffic that we would otherwise get on Ocean Ave. I hope that the signage out on Jefferson will encourage folks to take that path instead of Ocean Ave West. Because it's going to be better for the people walking. It's going to be better for the neighborhood. But people are crossing here anyway. We need a safe way for them to do that. And I personally, I want to be able to walk to Bagel World.
Hi there, I'm Alex Washer, I'm a Salem State student. I'm probably like a good 5-minute walk away from where this proposed station would be. So I do want to make that statement that it is rather close to the university, so it's not that far away. Thank you.
Hi, I'm on Forest Avenue, also Coach at high school. I feel like it is a necessary thing to have a good deal of public transportation for our young people who are not capable of driving and to discourage them, well, in practice, to discourage them from needing to put another car on the road in Salem. So I'd just like to double down on the comments about bike security and like bike lockers, the great access for our high school students, and a lot of population density that's in that would be of access. So thank you.
Thank you.
I believe it's in Berlin 119 Linden Street, close to Ocean Ave, and I would love to walk far from the tree. It's really nice to be able to go get a drink there and enjoy the neighborhood and do something nice in the city, not have to drive. Nonetheless, my question that I have is one about timeline. You've talked about 15%, but in the presentations we've had so far, I don't think we've had any dedicated time to actually walk the public through what the timeline of 15% means, what a timeline of 25, 50, 100% even looks like. And in some of the meetings that we've had, I've heard a lot of folks asking about, well, when is this coming? Is this even real? Is this going to come, the coming year, come 2 years, 3 years? So I'm wondering if you all can speak a little bit to what feasibly and reasonably the timeline might actually look like at this point, so that there's more of a general public understanding and real envisioning of what we're actually looking for here, rather than just potentially theoretical ideas of what it might be looking like.
Absolutely, good question. So as has mentioned multiple times, we're looking to complete the 15% design in the next 3 or 4 months. And then after that, it would continue to 100% design through a separate contract with the city. That has gotten funding. I can turn to the mayor later to talk about that grant if needed. But from 15 to 100% is going to take 2 years. So whenever that next stage of design commences, it would be 2 years of design, and then there would have to be a search for construction funding, and then construction would be another 3-ish years until something is open. So this is something that is going to take some time for design and both construction to complete.
Matt, can you talk about the public process during the design, the 25%?
Yeah.
What happens in each stage?
Absolutely. So yeah, post 15% is typically 25%, 75%, and 100% design. So there's at least 3 large design milestones that are going to have similar public forums to receive feedback and get updates on the project.
Hi, my name is Nicole Talbot. I live at 134 Ocean Avenue West, and my family and I do not want this. I walk out with my baby every single day. The thought of seeing people walk by is something that I don't want. I've lived there for 27 years, and I think that this is a very big security problem. So I just wanted to say that.
Scary. That's scary.
Hi, that everyone, Lawrence Road.
Speak up.
Salem. I must have missed a couple of things. I know the woman over here had asked what changed from this meeting on Canal Street to it being where it is now. And where are people supposed to park for the train? Right.
So the idea is that this is a neighborhood and bike and ped access majority station. Also, pickup and drop off and shuttle is going to be located on both sides of the tracks, but this is mostly a neighborhood bike and ped station. And as for the platform locations, we went through why the various alternatives were not ideal. And to have a 2-sided platform to have frequent trains, this is the most ideal location for the 600-foot long platforms.
Do you think come Halloween, people aren't going to be parking all the way through here to take trains down into Salem, taking up our neighborhood, the whole neighborhood?
Yes.
So parking enforcement is something that we've been in coordination with the city, and that's something to be considered with signage, enforcement, et cetera, moving forward in the design.
Your resident parking also.
I think there's a practice so that everybody can.
Hello? I have a quick question. I live on Broadway, and you're talking about shuttle buses. Would they be coming down Broadway, or would they be going down Ocean to Canal Street? Because everything that happens on Broadway just gets overlooked as it is right now. We had an RV park there for the past 5 months. It's finally gone. The people allowed to live there. And where does this human waste go? On our street, down our gutters? You know, we had no streetlights. I recently called and complained about the streetlights, and found about the streetlights. Down the other end of the street, we have auto body shops that are constantly, it's a one-way street. UPS is trying to get down, they're trying to go down. It's very hard. It's not even add people parking and dropping shuttle buses off on Broadway. It's gonna be crazy. When the college was allowed to park on Broadway, you had big buses going up and down the street. And I had 2 kids, and at the time they were younger. We complained many times. They would hit our cars, they would go over the speed limit. It's just, Broadway does not want this.
No taken. The off-street side of things on both sides of the track is something that needs to be refined further on in the design. At this point, we've really been focusing on station access, station egress, and getting to the public street on each side.
Hi, my name is Rosa. I live in South Salem, also on Forest, so apparently we're neighbors. I also just wanted to say I'm in support of this project, and there's a lot of things that I know we don't know yet. So, for example, Salem State students don't currently have an option to not drive to campus, right? It's not realistic that they're going to park all the way downtown and then walk or take an Uber to take classes every day. So I think this would support Salem State students, and also myself and my neighbors and a lot of people that live in our neighborhood have small children. We would really like having an option of a commuter rail that we could walk to and go into Boston or go wherever. So I just wanted you to hear that there is support for this. I do have a question. Is this going to be a staff station? Like, are there going to be any MBTA, like, Charlie Card assistants or MBTA police or anything like that?
I believe the answer is no, but
Is there anyone that hasn't asked a question?
I want to respond. There was a question asked about it's Salem, so we have to talk about haunted happenings. We work with the MBTA pretty closely in October around planning the commuter rail activity that happens, and the trains that come to the station could be just skipped in October. But that's a programmatic decision that's going to come years down the road from now.
So not all the people are coming to the hospital.
Yeah.
We do understand though.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
They're like, oh, I'm gonna park here.
Yeah, it's a shorter way to get in, but we could arrange to have this location not be a stop and just bring all the trains right to downtown on October weekends. So.
I live on Ocean Avenue East, just up from the train station. And I'm also a big supporter of this. I currently take the train. I came directly from the train station to here today on my bike. So I'm very excited about the opportunity to potentially change my commute and really make it much better. I'm curious a little bit, I noticed you took into account a lot of the commentary around the visual aspects of it, and I do agree that it would be nice to think about the architectural features of it. Can you talk a little bit more, you showed the spur and how that was going to be positioned. Is it below the current tree line? So am I correct in that the pathway is this sort of blue sheltery thing, and that the ground level where current properties are is above that significantly?
Yep, so the upper section here on the top of the screen is the midway point of the path.
Okay.
So up to the midway point, the canopy and the path itself should be below the yard elevation of the properties. After that, it's going to continue to rise, and you'll most likely begin to see the privacy wall and the canopy.
Okay. So that's on the west side, but on the east side, do we have it obviously will be visible. Is the bulb from the eastern?
I don't know.
On the east side, the Ocean Ave, can you show a visual from the east side? And that's behind that, there's like an apartment complex and stuff there.
Yeah, that's a new apartment complex, and this is the bike path access.
Okay.
Yep.
Thank you.
Is there anyone that hasn't asked a question yet that would like to ask a question? You've asked a question, but is there anyone new?
So, to align myself with the Federal Street neighborhood, how from 15% to 100% do we get from the feasibility that can be done in these locations to something that doesn't look so industrial? And having said that, when the pedestrian multipath was created, one of the early things we heard was we couldn't have any trees on the rail side because the MBTA didn't want any leaves on their rails. So keeping in mind something as creative as the High Line in New York, how could we get somewhere better visually and more neighborhood compatible as opposed to something that is so industrial and hardscaped?
Yeah. No, absolutely. That's a great question, and that's something, as soon as we get into the 25% design stage, when we start to look at elevations and what the nitty-gritty of the design is going to look like, that we can start to incorporate different materials, slopes, scales of different items, evergreen trees as opposed to deciduous trees, low shrubbery, etc.
Try to save the trees.
And I would just ask one thing for future meetings. Can we get the names of the presenters on the screen? Because it's very hard to understand who's talking, who they represented, and what their position was. And none of that was clear at the outset. So that clarification would be valuable.
Okay, anyone else that has not asked a question? All right, Mayor, can we take one more? Okay.
I just want clarification that access to 134 Ocean Ave West, is that gonna be like full access at the top of our street? Or is there gonna be like time limits? What's that kind of about?
So at this moment, it would be a full access opening to the station on either side in the pedestrian bridge. Yes.
Okay, so following up that question, what are you guys going to do to stop people from like say, speeding up our street to drop someone off just so they can make the train on time. Like, you know, there's little kids at the top of the street, and I'm just very concerned about that. You know, if someone is, you know, rushing to catch the train, being sped up the street, just be dropped off at the right time, what are we gonna do to prevent that?
Yeah, all this off-street mitigation items on both sides of the track is something that the city and the design team are aware of, and that's something we're going to consider moving forward, starting at 25% design, about how to mitigate these things with city enforcement, signage, et cetera.
I don't know if that's a mic or this mic. All right. So that wraps up the QA and the presentation. Like I mentioned, the detailed large-scale plans are up here for people that would like to come up and ask questions to the project team, or just look at the plans themselves or ask questions of me. Thank you again. The website where this presentation and the plans will be available is salemma.gov/South Salem Train. Thanks.